Hi guys, I'm Danny, and I'm here to refute the argument that John made about how soda has harmful consequences. Now, his three main supporting claims were that first, soda can cause cavities and plaque. His second main supporting claim was that soda can, the sugar in soda is fattening. And his third main supporting claim was that soda can cause diabetes. Yeah. For the response to the first main claim, where he says that soda can cause cavities and plaques, he fails to mention that the increased safety when using a straw. As Dr. Juan Swan from Canada Dental Association stated, using a straw can minimize the contact between teeth and soda, and thus it heavily reduces the risk of having cavities or plaques. Now for his second main claim, the first problem I have with it is that he says that liquid sugar is fattening, and he uses this to support his main claim. The soda is has consequences. But there are counterexamples where diet soda in general does not have sugar. It replaces sugar with artificial sweeteners. Now, whether or not diet soda is harmful can be debated, but it's a counterexample where there's soda that exists without the sugar. Another part of the second claim that I have a problem with is that to support that secondary claim, he made statements that said liquid sugar is not filling, and that because it's not filling, the people will eat more, and this will cause calorie gain. Well, at this point, I feel like it is irrelevant to the secondary claim, because if the people are eating more because they're not full, then it's the food that they're eating more, the extraneous food that they're eating, that's causing the extra calories, not the soda. Not only that, all the statements were assumptions, because it says he assumed that the soda wouldn't be filling for a person. He also assumed that after drinking a soda, the person would want to eat because they're not full. Now, his third main supporting claim was that soda consumption can lead to diabetes, and he had no statistical evidence backing this up. Actually, overall, for all of his supporting claims, and he really didn't have any statistical evidence, expert testimonies, no real evidence of any kind. The closest thing we have to evidence that he gives us is I think it was his first supporting claim, where he talked about a chemical reaction, which justifies the first main claim. Now, to conclude all of this, the speaker ignored the possibility of, the increased safety of the straw, and failed to mention it in his first point. He made statements that were irrelevant in his second point, and overall he lacked a lot of evidence and didn't really give any statistics to back it up.
All right, Danny, the argument's easy to follow. The secondary claims are clearly laid out. You have one kind of diminishing claim that you have on the first point that suggests that people would decrease the risk if they use straws. I think that that's not a bad argument to make. I'm not sure that it addresses the full argument that the advocate's presenting there. Later in the presentation, you do challenge the lack of data on all of the points, and it seems to me like this would be one of those places where you would want to talk about that there is no citation of authority that documents any increased level of cavities among soda drinkers versus non-soda drinkers. There's no statistical analysis that's presented by the advocate. There's no testimony about this. There's this theory about what the chemical reaction is. We've had people consuming sodas for 80 years or so, probably more than that, and we should see some data that correlates with this. Did the advocate provide that? No, they didn't. We know that people consume sodas lots of different ways. Probably some of those ways are unlikely to produce the reaction that the advocate's talking about, and I think that that's maybe the way you need to go with an argument like this. On the second point, the liquid sugar, you're kind of suggesting that it's not really the sugar, it's like this alternative causality that's going on here. The sugar makes them feel full, but they aren't really full, and so they continue to eat. And I can appreciate that. I think that that's a fine line that you're dancing on, and I'm not sure that it diminishes the advocate's argument that says it contributes to the problem. If it contributes to the problem by incentivizing or encouraging people to continue to eat excess calories, then I think ultimately you could say it's a contributing factor here, and that's what the advocate's point happens to be. I do think, again, that this is a place where some of those presses that you mentioned in the third point ought to be applied specifically. Is there data that suggests that obesity is linked to soda consumption? Do we have any statistical data on this? You mentioned, for instance, diet sodas at one point or other. Do diet sodas have this potential effect, especially since they don't contain the sugar that the advocate says is a key ingredient that makes people have this kind of false sense of being full. And this would be a place where some research on how much soda gets consumed is in fact sugar-free versus the stuff that has the sugar in it. If it's fairly equal, then we should be able to determine differences based on whether or not people are consuming diet soda or regular soda, and the advocate doesn't have any evidence on that particular point. So I think you need to be a little bit more forceful about challenging the lack of evidence on these points. You feel a little passive about it. The third point on diabetes, well, that's when you kind of give in some of these general arguments about this, suggesting that the advocate provides no statistical evidence. They don't cite any particular authority. If you had any counter evidence at all on this point, it would be really helpful. There isn't any. The only evidence that you really present in the course of the argument is on that first point. And that, like I said, that feels a little thin, although it's not a bad thing to include in the argument. All right, thank you.